Look at this illustration. This is the image of Rani Lakshmi Bai most of us grew up with, the fierce warrior queen charging into battle on a white horse, swords in hand. Even the British forces she fought against mythologized her this way. Their commanders famously recorded that she was the only man among the rebels. But the eyewitness accounts are more complicated. A Marathi writer named Vishnu Bhat Godse was trapped inside the fort for 12 days during the siege, and his diaries capture a very different, very human reality. Before the rebellion, Lakshmi Bai was a 20-something widow. Her only stated desire was to retire here, in the holy city of Kashi, to live out her life in quiet mourning. Under the East India Company's Doctrine of Lapse, if an Indian ruler died without a biological male heir, the British took the territory. When Lakshmi Bai's husband died, they used this rule to reject her adoptive son's claim. They annexed the state of Jhansi. They seized the treasury, revoked her royal pension, and explicitly forbade her retirement. By refusing a widow her sovereignty and a peaceful life, the British Empire backed her into a corner. They forced a devotee to become an insurgent. Lakshmi Bai met the threat with cold calculation. To prepare for the British arrival, she ordered the surrounding forests to be leveled. She wanted the terrain surrounding these walls to provide no shade or cover for the approaching troops. That cleared ground surrounded a 15-acre footprint. Every inch of that perimeter, lined with granite walls up to 20 feet thick, had to be defended at all times. To hold the line, she formed unconventional fighting units, recruiting and training a dedicated women's army. She drew women from local weaver communities to stand on the ramparts alongside her traditional soldiers. In March 1858, Major General Hugh Rose arrived with the East India Company's forces, and a relentless bombardment of the fort began. The defenders were waiting for a 20,000-strong relief force led by Tatya Tope. But as this engraving shows, the British intercepted and defeated that army at the Battle of Betwa. Inside the fort, the conditions were deteriorating. Godse wrote that the queen stopped sleeping and eating. Yet while the shelling continued, she insisted on hosting the local spring festival of Chaitra to keep the city's morale from collapsing. The breaking point came on April 3rd. British infantry breached the gates and entered the city, beginning a street-to-street fight that would leave 5,000 people dead. Watching her city fall, Lakshmi Bai's first reaction was to stay and blow herself up with the palace. It took the frantic pleading of an elderly soldier to convince her that the rebellion needed her to survive. Escaping the British encirclement relied on a Dalit soldier in the women's army named Jalkari Bai, who bore a striking physical resemblance to the queen. Jalkari Bai put on the royal colors and charged directly toward the British front lines. She purposefully drew the attention of every gun in the area. The distraction lasted for an entire day. This confusion, orchestrated by a soldier from the weaver community, provided the opening the real queen needed to slip through the British lines. Lakshmi Bai rode into the night with her adopted son tied to her back, starting a non-stop 100-mile journey. Godse recorded her arrival at the rebel camp in Kalpi. She had left Jhansi with only a single rupee. After 12 days of siege and a high-speed escape, she was physically exhausted and wept openly in front of her commanders. The physical demands of her retreat were relentless. She had survived a continuous horseback ride across rough terrain while menstruating, sitting in a war council without the money to even buy fresh clothes. These moments of physical limitation don't make her a smaller figure. They put her courage into a clearer, more human perspective. She regrouped, gathered a new army, and marched on Gwalior Fort. Her forces captured this stronghold to establish a new base for the rebellion. In June 1858, she rode into her final battle. She fought until she was fatally wounded, leaving orders for her followers to burn her body immediately so she would never be captured as a British trophy. Lakshmi Bai and Jalkari Bai weren't untouchable icons. They were people who refused to stop moving when history gave them every reason to quit.